Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. So today's topic is going to be the latest iteration of the summon pool, the Lordly summon pool, i.e. champions from the Banner Lords. And in this pool, we have a couple of headline champions, one of them being the Faction Unity champion for the Banner Lords, of course, Aislinn the Stalwart, and then potentially the more desirable option, depending upon one's goals, Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed, the collaboration between Raid and Assassin's Creed, specifically Black Flag in this instance. Colloquially known as one of the most people's favorite of the franchise, at least from what I've been hearing. I've not played that one myself, but I've heard amazing things. But nonetheless, you do also have a decent chance at some other legendaries. Overall, this is a fairly, to be honest, an underwhelming selection of the Bannerlord legendaries, but there's a couple of diamonds in the rough here. I think Stultus is still good. He makes a hard mode dragon relatively easy, because he reflects all of the debuffs back on the dragon, so you can just put him in the team, get him to the dragon, then the dragon kills itself. Richtof the Bold is a decent poison setup champion, albeit not the best, but 3 poisons on an AoE, if in the absence of anything else, can be useful. Card of the Rye, somewhat underrated, like kind of a cleanser healer or a cleanser reviver champion who's okay. I think she's not amazing, but she's okay in a pinch. She can be really strong in certain situations. But aside from that, I wouldn't really be that hyped about anyone else. Maybe personally Sathalia, just because I don't have her and she'd be a buff stripper, a decent single target heal, but that's just kind of for my own benefit. Objectively, she's not as good as some of the other buff strippers in the game. And then we have a very, very small selection of epics here, but the honorable or the notable ones there, of course, Stag Knight, one of the best epic debuffers in the game. We have a couple of Lady Mikage epics in case you're still going for her, with Ulfrig and Lady Quillen. And then Sir Artemage is a decent nuker in his own right, but not a crazy epic nuker. And I guess Lady Boobybell, of course, is potentially, or she is famous for being able to solo Bommel in certain situations and builds. So this summon pool is fairly par for the course. Granted, the amount of epics is a bit lower than normal, but in terms of the rates here, the odds of summoning, it's a Sacred Shard, as we've come to know and expect. 6% chance to get a legendary, 94% chance to get an epic, which I always like to reiterate means that there's a very, very high likelihood, a 19 out of 20% chance that you're going to walk away with an epic if you just go for the one air quotes free summon that we'll talk about in a second here. And then for those who don't understand how this works, the 6% chance is split. 2% here is the chance to get one of the headline champions, i.e. 1% chance of either of them popping out. And then the 4% is split across these 8 legendaries, meaning there's a 0.5% chance for any of these in particular. So this is higher, this is lower, but in the grand scheme of things, they're kind of on equal footing, so to speak, from a practical standpoint. Now, the air quotes free summon, in this case, the 40 fragments that you could earn for air quotes free, is from in the event dungeon tournament here, Augustine's Frenzy or something, I forget what it's called, but it is the event dungeon tournament, so you get credit for running the event dungeon. You gotta go all the way out here to 4450 on the points, and then you can get your air quotes free summon and take your shot at some of the champions in the pool. Now, in my particular case, this one had me a little bit torn, because objectively speaking, I've just been trying, in all of the recent summon pools, specifically for the assassins, to try and even though it's a small chance, I've been trying to take my shot at them. But you can clearly see that this one I'm not really participating in, and I kind of went back and forth on whether or not it was worth it. But I think for me, this is just another situation of just poor timing. We're in the middle of the Null Jewel fusion, and I think that she's objectively more important on my account in the long term, and so I'm not willing to burn. Well, first of all, I don't really have excess energy to spend on this at the moment, because all of my energy is being dedicated towards completing the fusion events, specifically champion training that just started this morning here at the time of this recording, plus all the energy I'll need over the next couple of days as the next tournament for the fusion, the next dungeon tournament for the fusion begins. And so I don't have the spare energy to spare, and then just doing some rough back of the napkin calculations, I would have to drop 1,500 gems into energy to get this done, just brute force, and that just doesn't seem, again, like a good trade-off for, once again, a 1% chance of getting Edward, who would be my most desirable. I still need Edward and Bayek as far as my personal goal of collecting all the assassins, but I'm also, at least personally, more bolstered by the fact that Basim was offered in the Deck of Fate, which we know, or which was tied, or is, since it's still ongoing, is tied to Soulstones. That gives me a little bit more confidence, assuming we draw parallels between the Assassin's Creed collaboration and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collaboration, that Bayek is probably going to be some future hero's path in 2 to 3 months from now, and then Edward might be a Titan event akin to April O'Neil. So I'm a lot more confident that I'm not going to have to, or that I'm going to be able to get those champions, assuming they're offered up in a guaranteed format based on the resources that I currently have. And I don't have to use my soul stones right now for Basim because I already got him from a Sacred Pogo event. So it would be nice to participate in the summon pool once again, just to get him early, get Edward early if I could. But I think I have the resources to get him, quote unquote, normally, assuming there's some sort of guaranteed event in the future. In terms of a formal recommendation for you guys, I do think that if your goal, your primary goal is to complete the fusion, then that's where your energy should be spent. But if you have the spare gems and you'd like to take your chance at the headline champions or any of the other legendaries, it could be worth it depending upon your particular goals. But more specifically, if you're skipping the fusion and you're not really farming anything, then I would definitely have spent the past or the whatever 3 days on this tournament in order to farm the event dungeon. One, because chronophage gear is fairly niche but still fairly useful in certain instances, and the event dungeon does give decent rewards overall. But then you'd also get a chance at some of the legendaries, and again, that could be worth it depending upon your goals. But if you're not doing the fusion, I don't know what you're spending your energy on, but I would hope that you'd be spending it on the event dungeon, just because it's going away in I think a couple of weeks. Let me double check that. Yeah, in about 2 weeks or so. So that would be, objectively speaking, one of the better ways to be spending your energy for the next couple of weeks. But you could also be, farming Masteries or farming Sand Devil, farming Band of Shogun's Grove, depending upon what your goals are. So grain of salt with that recommendation, but I do think that summon pools are a decent way to get a small chance, but a decent way to get some new champions on your account. So there you have it. That's going to do it for the free-to-play review of the Lordly Summon Pool. Let me know in the comment section down below what your plan is relative to this iteration of the Summon Pool. Do you care about the Assassins and or Faction Unity champions? Do you believe in the 6% chance to get something amazing? Are you going for the air quotes free summon, or are you doing a skip like myself in this case? As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on the channel, for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.